Warning: the following content may not be suitable for all listeners and contains crude humor that may be offensive to some. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Satire is Not Dead. Thank you for joining me. If you're new, and if you're not new, thank you for rejoining me. I was waiting for the perfect time to do my podcast, and apparently there is not a perfect time because in Louisiana it's basically fucking hot as hell, and so my air my air conditioner will be running in the background. And I even tried turning it off for a short time to record, and too hot. It's just too hot. And then my neighbor is cutting this friggin' grass right next to my office, so apologies. But I'll do the best I can with what I have. Now, God, excuse me. Since I've started putting together these little junky ass podcasts as a hobby, I've been joining several Facebook groups that are into podcasting, and anytime you have some kind of an interest, it's only natural you try to find like-minded people that you can kind of get information from. Apparently in this fucking country, or maybe it's the same in other parts of the world, there's these guys from other continents that try to scam you, and you know what, I'll get right to it. Saturday night there was a podcasting private group on Facebook I decided to join. So it was late. I joined it. I did send the request and, pending approval and all that. And so I get up Sunday morning, and the owner of the page or group sends me a message on Facebook Messenger saying, "Inbox me." And so I'm like, can you fucking be more specific or something? So I went to his Facebook Messenger and said, "Good morning." 3 hours later, he says, "Good morning." So I'm like, to me, it's a red flag. So I said, "You asked me to inbox you?" And his reply was, or their reply, I don't know who it is, I don't know what it is, I don't give a shit. "Would you like to promote podcast?" That's exactly how it was written, but I would feel pretty safe, even when I read it this morning, reading it as, "Would you like to promote podcast?" Because the English, anytime they fuck the English language up right off the bat, then you know something's fishy. And it's not always fishy, but so I reply, "I'm just getting started. What's the cost?" "Sir, comma, no space. We have 3 packages, space, question mark." And he spelled packages Pakeges. Then he replies, he intended to reply, "It's daily, $20, monthly, $100, and monthly, $300. Now, what he wrote was, when he wanted to write, "It's daily," DAILT. And every number he put the fucking $sign on the wrong end of the number. And then he sends me a follow-up reply, "Sorry, daily." He corrected himself because apparently he knows how to spell daily, but he doesn't know American fucking currency. So, and not to mention, these prices are retarded. $20 a day? What the no. So I reply, thanks, but that's way out of my price range right now. If I manage to develop a modest audience, I'll consider using your services. And this is what he replies with. What you are preferred for the work, sir? You fucking decide for yourself. So I reply, like I said, I'm just getting started, so I'm not familiar with how any of this works. Okay, sorry for this, and it's fucking OKK, fucking ellipsis, sorry for this with a freaking / on the end of it. I'm like, what is this fucker doing? Can you give your podcast, he intended to write channel link. He put CANNEL. So I sent him a link to my podcast. Or can go to my website, you know. He sends me a reply, you are just beginner in podcast. No shit, fucking Sherlock. What I replied was, yes, I said I'm just getting started. And I said, what is your primary language? Because your English is very choppy and inconsistent. My primary language is Hindi. And that was the last thing he sent me. And a few minutes later, he deleted it. But it's a freaking... Who would fall for that? And that would be like me planting flowers in my yard and some asshole coming by and saying, you plant very good plants. Would you like me to promote your planting plants? You know, it's fucking stupid. And who's gonna send $20 a day? That's fucking bullshit. So you contact me, you basically shove the English language face down in a ditch and rape it to death, and then you expect me to do business with you? I mean, what's the matter with these fucking people? This is like a long time ago, whenever the internet was in its infancy, these guys would write these chain letters from other countries saying that you've inherited some money from a long lost relative, but we need you to send us $1,000 so that we can release the money to you. It's the same fucking thing, and it's a shame. It's annoying. It's kind of entertaining, but it's also annoying. And it's just, I feel sorry for the poor dumb people that fall for this shit. $400 a month, or $300, whatever he said. You could buy a fucking vehicle for that price. It's just amazing. So that is one of the things that I've one of the new experiences I've had with this podcasting hobby. Another one is today, being June 15, 2020, is my wedding anniversary. I've been married for 30 years today, and since I've started recording and listening to my own voice, which is really bizarre because I've never done it before, for the entire time my wife and I have been married, she's been saying for 30 years that I mumble. And one day I asked her, I was like, how am I mumbling? Why don't you just pay attention or listen better? And she said, whenever I start talking, I tend to trail downward into a lower voice, and like that. And when I started doing this, podcasting thing, I realized that all this time that she's been right. So I've had to really pay attention to how I talk. And the fact that she's been right for 30 years, all I can say to that is, damn it! So that's my anniversary gift to my wife. And another thing, well, not another thing, but one of the things I really wanted to talk about before I get into my story is last week I was driving my vehicle and behind this pickup truck, and I live in Louisiana, south central Louisiana, way down south, and it was a big, custom pickup truck, lifted off the ground, big mud grips, 4-wheel drive, and tinted windows, and fucking, the stainless steel nutsack hanging off the hitch, which is stupid. But I was following this person. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman because the windows were limo tinted. It was black. And I follow about, 30 yards behind them. And I'm just driving, and this person throws out, it was a package from a plate lunch they had bought. And I don't know if you're not familiar with plate lunches. It's a styrofoam food container that it's, section, kind of like a lunchroom cafeteria tray, but it's styrofoam. And they had apparently eaten enough, or eaten what they wanted, and threw the whole, the container, the cup they had their drink in with a straw and a plastic cap and all that, they just chunked it out, and the container and the cup hit the road, and the container opened, the food went one way, the freaking ice went the other way, the cap and the straw went, everything was going in different directions. And it made me laugh, because we've never, I don't litter, and because first of all it's against the law, but it's just not something I've ever done. Growing up, littering was, and I don't know because I was a kid if there was even a fine for it, but when I was growing up, this was the early 80s, littering was, for one reason or another, no big deal. My parents had a Ford station wagon, and I think I don't remember what the model was. It was huge, like what Clark Griswold drives his family around in. And I remember when we would go somewhere with my mom, they would, this is so stupid, and looking back, maybe it made sense then, but it doesn't to me. They would roll the windows down, tell us to roll the windows down so they could turn the air conditioner off and save gas. Whether that was true or not, I don't know. But these engines in these older cars were huge, and they were gas guzzling. It wasn't this high performance fuel injection systems we have now. It was a monster of an engine under that thing, and the cars were all steel. There was all stainless steel bumpers and steel bodies, and there wasn't, you weren't surrounded in plastic whenever you drove a vehicle down the road. But I remember we would go somewhere, and my mom would look back and say, it's time to clean out the car. So she would tell us, clean out the car, get rid of the trash. And this is, mind you, we're traveling down the highway, and we would throw cups and paper bags and whatever shit was on the floor out the windows, and I can only picture it now, seeing it from like another driver behind us. It's this enormous station wagon with garbage coming out the windows, and we're like, the car's clean, we're done, and she, it was okay. But nowadays, you just don't, littering is, I don't do it. I'm not a tree hugger, but some people just, it doesn't bother them. And this guy I was behind was apparently one of those. They threw that stuff out the window, and you could tell by the motion, just the suddenness and the motion that they made, that they didn't even think about it. They just didn't stop to think and say, should I do this? Is this gonna make our environment look bad? Or, is there somebody follow me that might see me? They didn't give a shit. They just fucking chunked it out, and it hit the road and it went everywhere. And I laughed. I was by myself in my vehicle, and I laughed about it, because I'm like, this person, there's a certain amount of freedom that someone has who can do that and just not care, just don't have any regard for anything. And yeah, it's not right, but I kind of admired whoever it was, because I'm like, I wish I could just have that total disregard for anything in my life, and you can't. But whoever it was, probably a young person, whenever I was in my 20s, we would do all kind of thoughtless bullshit, and that's probably what was the case. And they were like, well, I don't want this shit in my truck, so they just flipped it out the window. And they did the good old boy thing where they hung their arm out the window where you could see their elbow, and with the window down. Even though it was a new truck, they probably were smoking, but had the window down with his elbow sticking out. And it made me my point is, what I'm getting to is, this thing I saw happen brought back memories from my childhood. And I said childhood, but I was in high school. I grew up in an area, in a very rural area. Some people say we grew up in the country. It was a farming community, sparsely populated at the time. It was, anyway. And I lived on a dead-end road, and I grew up with this guy. We were friends from kindergarten until the day we graduated. So 13 years of, and we were within walking distance of each other. So we would hang out and bullshit, and just sometimes we would, when we got old enough, we would get some beer and go get together with some other friends and go camping and get fucking drunk. Even though this friend of mine never drank when we were in high school. He would just come with us, and one day I asked him, I said, why do you even bother? He's like, just to watch all of you make asses of yourselves. So the memory that it brought back was this friend of mine. He was very conservative. He was white. I mean, white, prim and proper, dressed nice all the time, very smart. He was in all the advanced programs in school. Never used profanity, which is kind of odd to me for a high school kid, but it just wasn't his nature. He didn't do it. And he would laugh at us whenever we would make ugly, off-color jokes and curse like sailors. He never said, oh, please don't talk that way. He didn't have a problem with it. He just didn't do it himself. It's just not the kind of person he was. And we're in high school. He was an avid long-distance runner. And I was a weightlifter. I didn't like running. I'm not a runner. It never suited me. He liked it. We did it, 5 miles a day after high school, which is kind of, blew my mind, but whatever. And so one day he goes out running, and I'm in, I have a set of weights at my house. I do my own thing, and the next day, we had to ride the bus. We rode a school bus. It was like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hour bus ride, because we lived out so far in the boonies. And remember, this guy just didn't use profanity. He just didn't. It wasn't in him. And we'd get on the bus in the morning, and I mean, anybody who's going to school anywhere that has to ride the bus, you know how it is. You get on there, it's the same shit every day. There's these snot-nosed asshole booger kids, and the older guys sat in the back of the bus, which is kind of a prestigious thing, like, you know, we control the back of the bus, which is fucking stupid, but that's how it was. And you go to your seat, you sit in the same place every day, and you do the fucking same thing every day. And most of the time, I've always had insomnia when I was in high school, and I would literally, when I'd go to bed, our bedtime was what, I don't know, 8:30, 9 o'clock. I would literally stare at the ceiling until 2 a.m. before I started to get sleepy. So every day I was sleep deprived. No matter what I did, no matter how, you know, much energy I burned. And this was in the 80s when there was no, your parents didn't give you like sleep aid. The only sleep aid we had was them telling us to get the fuck in the room, and if you come out, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Go to sleep. And that was our, you know, that was our encouragement to go to sleep. So you just stay in your room and mind your business. So I would get on the bus and sit next to this guy. And we were friends. He was a great guy, but he would tell the most fucking mundane little life stories that happened to him the day before, and it was stuff like, you couldn't care less. I couldn't possibly care. And some mornings I was so tired, I just wanted to say, would you just not talk, please? Just stop. And there was this one morning, for example, you know, regarding his running, he tells me, hey man, I went on a run yesterday, and I was about a mile from the house. I was heading back home, and it was hot, and I was really tired, and I felt like I could barely, you know, I couldn't hardly pick my feet up, and wanted to quit. And then this song came into my mind by Duran Duran called Hungry Like the Wolf, and it gave me a burst of adrenaline, and I was able to make it home on that. And I was just looking at him with contempt. I'm like, are you for fucking real? And across the aisle, I was sitting in the seat next to him. Across the aisle was one of our other friends who had his arms crossed on the back of the bus seat, you know, trying to sleep. And when this guy tells me this little fucking anecdote, one of our other friends picks his head up and is like, Jesus fucking Christ, man, nobody cares. Who gives a shit? At least put Iron Maiden or something in the story that promotes, you know, pushes you to fucking do better. And then he put his head back down and went back to sleep. But that was the morning routine for us. And it was just some days I just really just wanted to just walk away and not get on the bus. But there was this one morning, he wanted to tell me about his run. And I get on the bus, and I'm going to reiterate, the guy doesn't use profanity. He doesn't swear. He doesn't curse. He doesn't, you know, very prim and proper guy. I get on the bus, and I sit next to him, do my thing, put my arms on the back of the seat, and put my head down and try to start getting caught up on some sleep anyway. And what really caught my attention, that he went straight, the first thing out of his mouth, he was straight up ghetto. He was like, let me tell you what the fuck happened to me yesterday. You know, some dumb motherfucker did to me. I'm out running, right? I'm running. I hear a car coming up behind me, and thinking, you know, no big deal. It happens all the time. They go around me, move over. And when he passes me, the next thing I knew, something hit me in the fucking back, and it hurt. And I look down, and there's this fucking cat runs off into the bushes and hauls ass, and the vehicle keeps going. And I was like, are you kidding? He was like, no. And then I knew it happened. I just wish I could have been there to see it. But he had bruises all over his back. He picked his shirt up and showed me. And, you know, the way guys are, whenever one of your friends has some kind of a physical misfortune, the first thing you do, and you may help them afterwards, but the first thing you do is laugh. You laugh about it. I mean, someone could fall down a flight of stairs in front of you, and you're going to laugh about it first. You know, a few years ago, I saw on Facebook some guy wrote, oh, my girlfriend dumped me, And I'm really depressed, and there's no one here to pick me up when I'm down. And one of his friends in the comment section just typed in, "Get life alert, you pussy." And that is the way guys are. And I just wish I could have seen. I don't. This was the 80s. This guy was running on a highway and back then there weren't as many cars on the road. There wasn't much traffic as there is now. So for some fucking asshole to pass by, and if you want to get rid of a cat, just open the door and let the damn thing run away. But he throws it out the freaking vehicle and hits the guy in the back just the right moment when he's passing out. So I'm like, the guy had to know you. He had to know you, and there was something about you he didn't like, so he threw a fucking cat at someone. So, but this friend of mine was just so fucking pissed. And I didn't say it, but I remember thinking when he told me this story, I'm glad that he didn't kill him, but not for reasons that, because I cared about him and we were friends. But I was thinking, it's so funny how much stuff can go through your mind in a short time. I was thinking, if for somehow that cat flung out a window killed him, we would, because we all knew each other. I mean, my circle of friends were all close. We knew each other for a long time. We would have been obligated to go to the funeral, and if we had gone to a funeral, like for that reason, his family would have been there. They would have been, his mom, his aunts, all these people would have been crying and wiping their noses, and at the, and me and my friends all had the same, even this guy, dark sense of humor. We would have been standing around the gravesite, would have covering our faces, because we would have probably fucking been laughing because he got killed by someone by a cat that somebody threw out a window. And one of the other things is, for the rest of his, if it had happened, his parents, and the worst thing for any parent is to outlive one of their own children or any of their children. So for the rest of their lives, would have had to explain to people how they lost one of their children because someone threw a cat out of a car and it killed their child. And who the fuck would not be able to, who could hold back a laugh from that? And it would be, what kind of person could hold back a laugh from that? Even if they didn't laugh outwardly, they would really be working hard to not laugh about it, because it would have been tragic. But who throws an animal out a window to hit another person? What was that about? So I get all that from someone throwing some trash out their truck. This is the head that I have to live in, and sometimes it's cool, it's entertaining. I can sit there and like watch a little movie in my head. That's how kind of screwed up my head is sometimes. But another thing is that you think there's enough shit going on in this country right now? I mean, I'm not going to talk about it because everyone else is. Everyone who's doing a podcast is on the bandwagon, and I'm not doing it. What I intended for this, even if nothing had been going on, as I wanted to be able to tell stories and create a diversion from reality for a little while. So, but it's just really, really a bizarre year. And speaking of bizarre, and there's a lot of political correctness shit going on. I came across this story. It's about these. I don't know if you know what a dance troupe is. It's a group of people that dance for a living. These dancers are actually plus size dancers. And I mean, plus size, they are plus. They're big girls. There was this girl who was in a Beyonce video years ago, who was one of her dancers and whatever, and she ended up in one of the videos for one of her more popular songs. I don't remember which song it was, but this girl after that never got another gig because they told her, you should probably lose a few pounds here and there to get more work. She was one of these people that is comfortable with the way she is, and if some people are, that's fantastic, good, fine. But her she founded this dance company and called herself Big Tiff. And this article is about this dance group that goes and they travel around. They actually go to other countries and go on tours and stuff. And she was interviewed for an article. It's really ridiculous. And for the idea that she's okay with herself, she had this guy interviewed her. She had a T-shirt on that had 2 words printed on it: thick pack. They asked her about what motivated her to do start the dance, and of course people pay to have to go dance with them, but then after they train with them, they go on tour and they get paid to go on tour and all this. And she said, if you put me on stage with music and lights, you're going to get a powerhouse performance. We eat, sleep, and breathe pretty big. And when I read that, I was thinking, sleeping and breathing pretty big, isn't that considered sleep apnea? And she said, we beautiful, vibrant dancers. And one of the things about the article is, when a band goes on tour, they always have roadies. And what the roadies do is they volunteer their time to help set up and tear down sets and all this. And this guy wrote, it's a team effort between dancers and their roadies, which just so happen to be union ironworkers who build the stage that the troupe dances on for each performance. And this is a quote from the ironworker foreman. We've had some tough assignments before, but this one takes a cake. As much as can be left around these gyrating broads, cake's pretty scarce. Each day we come to work, we keep our lunches locked in our trucks. He said one day we all lined up our lunch boxes along the wall of the auditorium we were working in, and come lunchtime it looked like a family of grizzly bears that ransacked the goddamn things. And when this reporter asked this foreman, this worker, why he chose to remain anonymous, he said, because, and this is fucking classic, there's no I in H-E-R-D. You need to remember that. And he said, I tell you what, the designer that created the fabric that these girls' outfits are made of should be given a Lifetime Achievement Award. I mean, do you realize the tensile strength that's required of pants that this group wears? When they're dancing, their asses look like 2 dogs fighting under a blanket. That's an impressive accomplishment. Oh my God, he said the young engineer that took on this project was very excited to get the job, but once he calculated the cumulative stresses and loads on this structure, he kind of went into freak out mode. Now, I went to the restroom one day to take a piss, and pretty sure I could hear him crying in a stall, but he got the design done and we're building it. When asked backstage during a recent performance about the structural integrity of the stage, the foreman replied, "I mean, fuck, if an airplane collided with this stage, it would laugh at that fucking plane, and everyone knows jet fuel can't melt steel beams." We learned that just a few years ago. Oh my God. He says they perform in order of smallest to largest. Tiny is up first. They have a big finish, a very big finish. Ironically, the biggest girl has the longest dance routine. She gets to sweating like a whore on dollar night. We have audio of at the end of the performance, all the girls come out together and do a single synchronized dance routine. We have audio of that routine now. Oh, my stomach. Oh my God. Oh my God. At press time, the iron workers were backstage sweating visibly. When asked what the problem was, one of the crew said, "This is when we find out if our work holds up. They're out there doing their damnedest to crush our fucking stage, and we're back here praying to the Lord Almighty that it doesn't collapse. If it holds, this is one hell of a resume builder." When asked where the engineer was during the performance, another member of the crew said his nerves were up and he was vomiting in the men's room. Oh my God. Iron workers as roadies. That is a fucking union iron workers at that. I'm sorry. I had so much fun recording this session. If you like what you hear, please please follow me on Podomatic, or you can find me on Spotify. Leave me a comment. Please download and share my podcast and just spread the word, please. Let me know that you like what I'm doing, and I'll continue to make more programs. So have a great week.